Hey, it's the Chief, bonding with board games and RPGs. This is Season 2, Twilight 2000. I'm going to call this the Orphans chapter. We'll be using Twilight 2000 4th edition, Urban Ops, although none of the particular scenarios, and of course the original 4E. Let me get these out of the way. For any of you that followed Season 1, and for those that haven't, please go check it out. We followed an evil character, Kanan Krieg. For that character, one thing I used was the 48 Laws of Power. It's a very Machiavellian book, and this helped guide his psychopathy, his break with reality, if it will be, his brutalness, his evilness. He's still alive, so we may still use this. But Casimir and his brother Edic will also be using Marcus Aurelius's book, or books in this case. I know there's two different translations, called Meditations. More on this in a second. So, if you've never seen Season 1, it would definitely help, but I'm going to give you a little synopsis. Kanan Krieg basically created his own little army. They're in the town of Gniezno in Poland. He forted it up, used an old hospital, and from this position, his original goal had been not only to make it safe and secure for him and his, but he'd heard rumor that the gold bank in Warsaw still had its gold. And he wanted to make a run, but it's in heavily Russian-controlled area. It's also taken a nuke or two, and he wanted some Spetsnaz help. Now, I'm not going to go into that whole story, but the orphans came in. And the orphans were mentored by Pacheco. Pacheco mentored them, and unfortunately, I don't want to ruin how it went down, but he ended up passing away. He left a coin. That challenge coin he had actually gifted to Casimir shortly before everything went south in a giant attack on the base. Again, please go watch Season 1. Casimir and his younger brother Edic are guided by that coin and these two different translations of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations books that were found inside Pacheco's rucksack. So first, and I'll put it up on screen, I will show Polish citizen 16-year-old Casimir. We're literally picking up post-battle. It's a day or two post the giant battle that Pim Jim and Kanan Krieg's and Major McGiffin and First Sergeant Wilson's troops were able to repel just barely. So you can see Casimir's sheet. Now, I went back and actually watched old episodes as the orphans came into Season 1 to partially flesh this out, and then I added more details that included some training, both literally in combat, and that was received from Pacheco. So, Casimir's 16, his strength has moved up to C. He's eating better ever since they got into the compound or the forted up base in Gniezno, and that alone, along with his 16-year-old body and the growth that's coming in, has allowed him to be a C under strength. He's received some very limited training in heavy weapons. Again, if you've seen the episode, that was literally put into play during the video with some 50 caliber coaxial Humvee training. Again, see Season 1. There's some close combat at C, and his stamina I put at C just because he's young. He could probably even move up to a B pretty easily here, that youth, but room to grow. Agility from the get-go with both orphans, and I'll get to Edic, his brother, in a second. Again, we're looking at Casimir, A for agility. They're quick. Mobility, again, A. And ranged combat C. Most of that is, again, from both training and actual combat experience that Casimir's received from Pacheco and in combat. Intelligence C. He's not officially well-learned, not that he's not intelligent, but he hasn't been to school probably since like second grade with the breakdown in Poland and the World War III that's occurred. However, Recon is B, survival is A. These kids grew up in the wilds just trying to eat to live. So survival is A. Empathy, D. Very low on the empathy, although one of his main goals, his moral code is my brother goes where I go and protect Edic, which is his brother's name. So he does have a D in medical aid. That's basic first aid that, again, Pacheco showed him. Pressure bandages, chest seals, maybe some quick clot or a tourniquet. Very, very basic, but there. They secured a Car 15 or an M16. There were plenty laying around. That maybe, we'll see. It might be harder to get 5.56 ammo if he goes off on his own, so who knows. But he also picked up Pacheco's, he got Pacheco's suppressed HK pistol. When Pacheco passed away, First Sergeant Wilson gave it to him and he strapped it on. So he's got that pistol with that suppressor on it. So switching over to Edic's sheet, you can see it again now. He's 12. And you can see his skills are going to be more limited. So first of all, strength is D. He's still young. He just doesn't have the body for the strength yet. His agility is B, not quite as good as Casimir. Ranged combat is C. He's also received training and real world. There's nothing like real world combat to bring you up. Intelligence is A, though. Really smart kid. His survival is A, and his tech is A. Matter of fact, his big dream, he's heard stories of the Polytechnic that was in Krakow, one of the top technical schools out there. And there's rumors that Krakow is still with power somehow. They haven't seen it, but he has a dream of being able to learn those technical and engineering skills that he would love to. However, his moral code is who needs strangers? He doesn't care about them. He doesn't want to get to know them. He doesn't trust them. Empathy is D. Medical aid is C. A little bit better. With his intelligence, he's taken to it a little bit better. He also picked up a knife that he got from Pacheco when Pacheco passed away. So seeing these sheets, these are the main characters we're going to follow. But we're picking up right where we were, and I want to cover the one thing that Casimir has in his pocket is this challenge coin from Pacheco. Pacheco gifted it to him, and the primary thing on it is the Latin phrase semper paratus, always ready. This was explained to him. He couldn't read these words, but First Sergeant Wilson, it's been, let's say, a couple days since all the action. First Sergeant Wilson, although not taking on the uncle role, has been looking out a little bit for Casimir and his little brother Edic. And he also read off what these words were to Casimir and explained what always ready is. He even said, you know what, the U.S. Coast Guard, that's their motto. And obviously he goes from Pacheco's point of view in the SWAT team, they were ready to go at a moment's notice. And Casimir wants to, definitely from the get-go, use this coin as his model. Almost like the powers of 48 that worked for Creed, Pacheco's coin for Casimir is going to lead him. And it's great because it's got all these words on it. And in a nutshell, the first sergeant explains in his perspective, not saying that this is exactly, I do have the actual definitions, but I wanted to take like a military man's view of what this SWAT coin would mean. So again, you can see the coin on screen right now. And just going down, he says modesty, and he explains what modesty and teaches him how to say it. He says that it's the gist is don't get a big head. Don't think that you're more than you are. And Casimir says, oh, like Krieg. And he's like, exactly. That would be the reverse of modesty. Says loyalty. You already know this with your brother. But it's loyalty to not only your brother, but those around you that you trust, and to what's right. Courtesy. He's like, simply means help those that need it. You see someone in need, you lend a hand. I would say Pacheco did exactly that for you and your brothers. Compassion. And this is where First Sergeant Wilson looks at Casimir and says, Casimir, make sure you don't harden your heart all the way. Keep it open. Have a little bit of compassion for folks. A hard heart will not take you down a good road. Devotion. First Sergeant says, it's devotion to many things. Devotion to your brother. Devotion to your friends. Devotion to what's right. You need to figure these things out and then be devoted to them. Chivalry. Now this is again where the first sergeant is not following the exact definition. It's going to go from what his perspective is, which isn't perfect. It says chivalry means you be nice to the ladies. Be kind to them. He's like, what does that mean? He said, well, back in the day, you opened the door, you pulled out a chair. And Casimir's like, what? He doesn't get that at all. Nor is that quite the definition of chivalry, but fine. Nice, be kind to women. Strength, First Sergeant says, both physically, which you're on your way, Casimir, but mentally. And I would say you're on your way with that one as well. Keep it in mind. You got to keep both mind and body strong. Valor, again, First Sergeant's point of view. Casimir, valor's going where others fear to go, and going there boldly. And then finally, justice. First Sergeant said it's bringing right to what's wrong. And when I mean wrong, wrong. And Casimir again kind of looks around and says, like Krieg. And First Sergeant says, careful. And he kind of takes a little gander around as well. And then Casimir, looking at the coin, says, what is slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. And First Sergeant says, well, I can tell you about this one too. It's more of a Navy SEAL saying, and it doesn't just apply really to their muzzles of their weapons. It's much more towards the actions of their unit. They will not rush to failure. Their group will move smooth, and that smoothness ends up making their actions in the grand scheme of things fast. So think if you and your brother were on the same page and you're not in a panic and your actions are deliberate. They're not rushed. They're not jerky. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Casimir asked the First Sergeant Wilson, what's with the books? But he goes, Casimir, I don't read that much, and I haven't read these. I have no idea what's in here. You're going to need to learn how to read them yourself. But Casimir pulls out a piece of paper that was folded up in one of them, because these will also be the guiding principles. I'm not going to go into deep detail now, but the very first statement that's like underlined and highlighted, it's clear that Pacheco had written this out or typed it out, is that, quote, our obstacles are opportunities. Obstacles are opportunities. And you see First Sergeant Wilson kind of reading these to himself. He's reading them out loud, and he's not reading the rest of the instructions or explanations. But he has, he said, this is a decent list. He goes, you got, accept your fate. Good. You can choose not to feel harmed by circumstances of your life. It's like, I guess. Don't worry about what others think of you. He goes, that's always true and to the point, Casimir. Don't give a damn what others think of you. Never give up. Stand strong. He goes, you've already done that. You've done that in spades. Just keep doing it. You got that one down. Be unselfish. Again, Casimir, you're starting off good. The way you look after your brothers, keep doing that, and it'll serve you well. Actions speak louder than words. 100%. You've seen some talkers. They're a bit different from doers. You're getting first sergeant wisdom there. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Again, Casimir, I think you're starting to realize that yourself. You're already ahead of the game. Make your high character painfully obvious. He says, I don't even know what the hell that one means. Reads it a second time. Make your high character painfully obvious. He doesn't know. Of course, First Sergeant exemplifies that. He just doesn't get it, which is possible. Our duty is to help others. Sometimes, Casimir, it's to help yourself. Don't forget that either. But, can't say it's wrong. Just be careful. And be present. This means be in the moment. Stay on point. Don't think too far ahead, and don't worry about shit that's already happened, Casimir. It's over. It's done. Doesn't mean you forget it. But don't dwell there. Don't live in the past. And he's thinking straight about Pacheco and even about Alec, the youngest of Casimir's brothers. And he doesn't need to read anything to explain that to him. And he says, Casimir, I'll put this back in the book. There's more to read on this too. Let's see if we can find somebody to teach you how to read, although it might take you a little bit. I don't think I could get through these. So we have our character development. Casimir in the future will learn to read. It's going to be one of his goals, and he'll be able to dive deeper into these meanings. But as you can tell, he already embodies several of them. In the short term, he's got the coin down. He's got the words memorized. He is going to try to live his life by Pacheco's coin, and he understands that these books were written by a high general, a leader back in the day, and he's got a goal to find out more about himself. He has no idea what a Stoic is or who Marcus Aurelius was, but this will start him down the road. You will see that journey as we continue. Now, to come out of a little bit of the character development, I've got my Trapper Keeper. That's right. For those that didn't see season 1, it's how I stay organized. We will be using cards, and not just the cards from Twilight 2000, although these also have like 4 hearts right here. These have little random events, and I'm using the Urban Op events inside here. There'll be little shots coming up on the screen that will show you the replacement cards that Urban Ops allowed me to put in here, so that there's more things that are city, urban type events. But I will be using cards as visual representations. You know, if I said, hey, I found a car on the side of the road and I randomly pulled, does it work? A 2 would mean, no, it's junked out. An ace or a king would be like, yeah, and it's even got 3/4 tank of gas, and maybe there's a gun in the trunk. So it could be great. So the cards will be used to do that. They're a nice visual medium, and where I can pull and show a result that isn't quite as well translated with the rolling of the dice. Now, I've purchased Foundry, but it's a whole nother subset of skills I would need to learn to get it to interact with what I'm doing. So I will not be messing with Foundry for this season. I'm very theater of the mind, and I will try to bring that across. If you hate theater of the mind, tune out right now if you haven't already. We will be using the rules from Twilight 2000 4th edition Free League, but I will freely break away from that whenever I feel it's necessary. I'll also be using heavily the Mythic Emulator, UNE, to come up with character development things for other people that we come across. I'll be using maybe some of the charts in Maze Rats. I've also got a few other books that may make their way in. Whenever they come in, I will show them, and I will put their description down, or their name or title down in the description below. Please, as this moves forward into episodes, comment. If you like something, great. If you don't like something, or you think something could have been included or whatever, let me know. If I get a little rules thing wrong, you can let me know, but I'm not really this is not going to be a game teach. This is a role play session that's going to be a little more free form. So don't expect to learn Twilight 2000 from this. The focus will be on the story, not the rules. That being said, see you at the next episode. Episode 1 will kick us off, and we will be back in Nisno, back in the base, and we will see what Casimir and his brother Edic are going to do.